interested in any of those events, please put them on your calendar and let us know if you want to come. Now, one of the other things you got is a little business card. We've just got these made, and this has all of our contact info on it, how to reach us. It also mentions on here that we have a YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and you look up New Beginnings Health Team, you can find all the classes we have done over the last year and a half. Those are all recorded, and the recipes are linked in those descriptions of those videos. So go and check out some of the ones we've done before. Earlier this year we did one on how to begin eating plant-based, like a 101 how to get started kind of class. That was very popular. That was in January. We did a class on plant-based breakfast foods. That was in March. And we've done a couple related to natural remedies too. One was on hydrotherapy. So that is also on there. So check that out. And one couple other things that are over here on the registration table, which you may not have seen, but you can grab as you go out. There is a flyer about an awesome documentary that you can find online called Plant-Wise. It's all on the benefits of plant-based eating. So highly recommend you watching that and sharing it with your friends. There is something about how every Saturday here we have a vegetarian fellowship lunch. So you're always welcome to come, bring a dish, or just come and sample dishes. It's always good food. And the other thing that's over there is, well, we're talking a lot tonight about healing. Healing includes far more than just physical health. It also includes emotional health and spiritual health. So not long ago, back in April, we did an event here called Why Does God Allow Suffering? And this was something my husband did. It was he's the pastor here, by the way, I'm his wife, a three-part session where we answered 3 questions. Why does God allow evil and suffering if he's so good? Second night was, where's God when I'm hurting? And the third night was, when will evil and suffering end? Questions that I think are relevant in a world today where a lot of people are really struggling. And very practical, very full of hope. So we have that available in 3 ways, and they're free. They're in the basket. There's DVDs from each night. On the table is CDs if you're more someone that likes to listen on your car. And there's also MP3 sticks that you can put in your car or in your computer and watch a video or audio. So there's several different options there. Feel free to grab one of those.
Are the MP3s video? I thought they were just audio.
It has both on it.
Really?
Yes.
MP3 and MP4 is the video you can use with your USB key.
Yeah, so you can
whichever
watch it
one
in your
you want.
computer or play it through your car.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, well, those are all the basic announcements. I want to begin with a short little devotional thought and prayer, but I'm going to start with the prayer. So let's bow our heads. Dear God, tonight we are thankful to be here on such a beautiful evening and to be able to talk about health and some of the remedies you've given us just in the things that you have grown and provided for us. And we're looking forward to some practical learning here tonight. But we just pray that you would bless each one here in their personal health journeys and whatever their families are going through right now, Lord. You know what their needs are, and I pray, Lord, you would provide for them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So the Bible begins in the very first chapter with the story how God created a perfect world that didn't have sin, illness, death, disease, nothing. However, things quickly change. By the 3rd chapter, you have all of those now. Evil, sin, death, and we know illness and disease quickly followed. But despite the poor choices that we make that often bring illness upon ourselves, we have a God who's very merciful, very loving, and cares about us, and has provided ways for us to experience healing and recovery and restoration. And I want to read you 3 scriptures tonight. The first one is in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 17. And this is one I often like to share in our health classes. It says, God speaking, I will restore health to you and heal you of all of your wounds, says the Lord. Now, of course, we know in the New Testament, when we read the Gospels, Jesus was often healing people from illnesses. And he actually used things like poultices. There's one story, I didn't even include this one, where a man was blind and he put a clay poultice on his eyes and restored his eyesight. So we have that demonstration of Jesus using poultices. One of the ways that God created for us to be healed is through the things that he created. And there is this verse in the book of Psalms, Psalm chapter 104, verse 14, that says, he, speaking of God, causes the grass to grow for the cattle and vegetation for the service of man. And this is the New King James. The King James says he created herbs for the service of man. And when we study about vegetables and herbs, we realize they have a lot of healing properties that do bring service for us and blessings that God created. Now there is actually a story in the Bible about a poultice that was used to bring healing. And besides the one of Jesus using the clay poultice, this was a vegetable or fruit poultice. And it's mentioned in the book of Isaiah. And it was about a king named Hezekiah. And he was very, very sick. In fact, it kind of gives the impression that this illness, he had a boil, and that it possibly was so infected that he was like at the point of dying, okay? And in his distress, he called out to God for God to hear him and help him. And so God did, and he sent to him the prophet Isaiah, and this is what Isaiah told him to do. This is Isaiah 38:21. Now Isaiah said, let them take a lump of figs and apply it as a poultice on the boil, and he shall recover. There you go. The word poultice. It's the only time it's found in the Bible, but it's there. It's there. And the poultice worked, and the boil was healed, and he was restored. And there in the same chapter, it's his song of praise to God for the healing that he received. So I love that we have here in Scripture evidence that vegetables and fruits and the herbs are given for healing and restoration. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Some of the common ones that you have probably at home: onions, potatoes, and any other things. All right, so Kim's going to come up and share with us, pulling from stuff on this handout. So you want to pull this one out. These are some of the definitions and things we're going to be talking about.
Okay, how many of you here have ever used a poultice? Yeah, you had it done to you. Used a poultice. Do you know the difference between a poultice and a compress? Yeah, I had to do a little digging. we had to kind of piece this together. So on your sheet, you have the definition. So the poultice is an application of vegetable or herb matter to an affected area that breaks up congestion and draws it out through the skin. So that's what poultice would be. So I'm going to be demonstrating a few poultices tonight, and that draws it out through the skin, and that's the way the body gets rid of it. A compress is an application of a cloth soaked in herbal tea to an affected area that breaks up congestion and dispenses it via the bloodstream. Isn't that cool? You know, there's a couple ways that God designed the body to get rid of toxins. And then a fomentation really is, it's technically, a compress is a fomentation. A fomentation is when a wet cloth is applied directly to the skin. And the best way is that you alternate the hot and cold. And if any of you were here for our hydrotherapy class, that's what we were doing, applying fomentation pads. And there's different ways to do that, because of a fomentation, if you do hot and cold, what you do is you're stimulating. So what you want to do is move blood, because in the blood is the life and all the nutrients and everything that the body needs to heal in those particular areas. So the idea is, well, let's get blood to it, and then let's flush the old blood out and bring new blood in. So it's really very basic how God designed this to be. So that's really it between a poultice and a compress and then a fomentation. So And why do we use these things? Anybody have any ideas on why we use these things? You know, they're extremely effective. People have been using these things for centuries, and I would like to say millennia. It's in the Bible, right? We saw it's in the Bible. And Stacy mentioned that verse in Psalm 104:14, where God gives the herb for the service of man. They're for our use, and our bodies know what to do with that stuff. It's made for our bodies. It's readily available, right? All these things are readily available. The things that we're going to be talking about tonight, and many other things, as we're going to see if you come to that little walk in my homestead. That's so funny. That's cute, homestead. Yeah, she says, you know, with homesteads, there's, you know, usually they have animals and things. I said, well, we have a stray cat we brought in. We have, you know, moles and fox and, you know, all that stuff. So I guess that counts. In a garden and that kind of thing. So anyway, they're inexpensive. These things are very, very inexpensive. As opposed to going to the doctor, and even now you have to consider the gas that you're going to drive back and forth to get to the doctor. Yeah. And you can take charge of your own health. You don't have to feel helpless or fearful. Take charge of your own health. This is so simple. And God gave these remedies. So that's really why we do this. It's God-given, right? It's stuff that works with our bodies. So with that, I'm going to let Stacy get started. And she's going to run through a few of our vegetable poultices. Yeah.
Some of the veggies. Okay, we're going to start with the humble potato. The humble potato is probably one of America's favorite foods, right? Fry it, bake it, boil it, mash it. But we are going to turn this humble potato into a healing food. So what people don't realize is that the potato is very cooling and great for tissue inflammation. Okay? So when you think potato, don't think French fries. Think tissue.
Which is very inflammatory.
Exactly. It's taking the good potato and destroying it, unless you're air frying it. So, tissue inflammation. So in your handout, it mentioned some of the different things that this can be used for. So you get an ingrown toenail, it hurts, it's red, it's sore. You get strained eyes, sore eyes, or maybe you even get pink eye, hemorrhoids, anything, a splinter that gets infected. Potato is awesome for that. Abscesses, boils, skin ulcers, anything that's swollen and tender, okay? So that's what you're gonna use your potato for. And we are using the raw potato, okay? And what this is gonna do is it is going to reduce inflammation in the area and draw out any pus and toxins that are there. Now you're going to see that several of the things we mentioned tonight overlap, that there are multiple anti-inflammatory things we're going to mention. So this is really cool because God designed things that if you have a potato at home, but you don't have a cabbage at home, or you don't have charcoal at home, you've got maybe one of the three, and that's the one you use. And if you have two of them, combine them together and they'll just create synergy. So whatever you have, that's what you use. Okay, so with the potato, this is going to be so very simple. You just need to grate your potato. So we have a grater here. You don't have to peel it, just wash it.
You want somebody to practice on? Ron has a swollen hand.
He does, but I'm going to use cabbage on him.
Okay. Maybe better.
Okay, so we grate our potato. You can grate as much as you want, depending on how large the area is that you are needing to help. And my paper towels here. I'm just going to use a simple paper towel. And now you're going to just take all of this matter here. So simple. Okay, you take all your potato matter, and you notice that it's very moist now, right? And you're gonna take this and apply this wherever your wound is, okay? So let me tell you a quick story. I was in England years ago, teaching at a missionary training school. One of our students got his finger smashed in a car door. Yes, painful, right? Red, inflamed, swollen, hurting, like terrible. And at this school, they were teaching these students natural remedies, like potato poultices. So one of the teachers, she's like, oh, let's grab a potato. Grated the potato, took that smashed finger, put it in the potato, wrapped it, gauzed it, like put a bandage around it, and immediately the pain started going away, inflammation starts coming down, relief instantly. Slept with it overnight. The next morning, when we took the potato poultice off, the redness was gone, had been no more pain, and the healing was amazing. Just from a grated potato. Pretty awesome, right? Something so very simple. Now I'll tell you another way I use this grated potato in a little bit. But that is what we learn from just something so simple. Now the next one we're going to talk about is cabbage. And cabbage is, like potato, is also very anti-inflammatory. It contains lots of vitamins and phytonutrients, anthocyanins and glutamines, which have those anti-inflammatory properties. And in your handout, it mentions that it works well to clean wounds and prevent infection. It's useful in reducing swelling and painful joints and treating skin tumors. It detoxifies the skin and underlying tissues, preventing bacterial growth, and reduces inflammation. It can be used for a swollen, sore breast from breastfeeding, a sprained ankle, a bruise, or a wound. Okay? Now, in this case, we're using the raw cabbage. And the first way I'm going to do it is Ron here has a very bruised arm. How'd you bruise your arm, Ron?
I fell on it.
He fell on it. Okay. So he fell on his arm and bruised it badly, and this is going to help with bringing healing to that area. I'm just going to do this so I can have an area to work on. It's not going to make a mess. So I'm just taking the top leaves of my cabbage. I'm going to take out the rib area.
Use raw cabbage, right?
This is just raw cabbage, yep. And then, you're going to use a rolling pin or a meat tenderizer, any way that you can kind of mash this up, okay? So we're just crushing it. Has anyone ever made sauerkraut before?
Oh, yeah.
So when you make sauerkraut, you are pulverizing it, right? And as you pulverize it, for those of you who have done it, what happens? What does it start to release?
Water.
Yeah, it starts releasing juices, and they actually add salt to it, which helps pull out the juices a little bit more. But what we are doing here is we are pulverizing this here cabbage, bruising it, starting to release all those juices that are in it. Okay, and the cabbage is quite moldable now, very soft. You can see the liquid starting to come out of it, right? We've got a pile of liquid here on this tray. So what we're gonna do now with this, and I think this is gonna be enough to cover this area. So Ron, can I invite you to come up here?
Gladly. I want to try this.
Come right over here.
Where?
Yep.
All right.
This is gonna be very cooling and soothing, and it's gonna help with bringing,
Yes, well, maybe it's-
oh, up here too.
Yeah.
You covered the whole area.
Oh, I did it good.
You didn't break it, did you?
Not that I can tell.
It doesn't. Okay, I think we covered all of it.
Okay.
And then I'm just gonna use some plastic saran wrap here to hold this thing in place. too tight. I don't want to cut off the circulation. And what this is going to do is it's going to help hold the moisture in, because this moisture or juice in the cabbage is what's going to be bringing healing to this area. All right, and I'm just going to put a little piece of tape on there to hold that in place for you. And you're going to go home with this.
Oh, definitely.
You're going to sleep with this tonight.
I don't have a problem with that.
And then in the morning, see how it feels. And if you want to, do another one tomorrow.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any bruises? Did you come tonight wanting to be a patient?
No insurance card necessary.
It wasn't
insurance.
planned, that's for sure.
No payment. Free services. Yeah, so this is helping to prevent, bringing healing to that area and prevents infections. Now, another way that you can do this is you could grate it. So you can take your cabbage, just use your grater, grate the cabbage, and use it that way. Another way is you could take the cabbage and put it in a blender with a little bit of water and blend it up till you get like a paste or like something kind of more soft. And then use that, put it on a gauze of sorts, depending on the size of the area you're covering. And these are pretty nice gauzes. I picked these up at Meijer. They have a non-stick, so they have a side that keeps it from leaking through. And then you have your cotton side that you can put your poultice on, okay? So you put that on there, and then you could use that to wrap over the area or over your eye or wherever it is that is bothering you. And in that case, you're using that paste that you blended up. And you can keep it there for 15 minutes, an hour, overnight. It's not going to hurt anything. It's going to be very good. Now, let me tell you about a story from last summer. So my husband and I were up at our farm, our property we have up north, a couple hours from here. And we were cutting firewood and using our log splitter to split these big trees we were cutting up and stacking and all that. You know, it's a big job. And a log splitter is an amazing thing unless you get your hand in the wrong place. And we had this large log that we were trying to cut, and it had a knot in it that I don't think we realized. And Steve got it jammed and then broke loose and smashed his finger between the log and the anyways, as you can imagine, it was not pretty. Now we are half hour from the nearest grocery store, and at least 15 minutes from the nearest grocery store, half hour from the nearest hospital. I said to myself, we got to get a poultice on this thing right away. Now, up there at the farm, I was actually growing cabbage. So I ran to the farm, to the garden, grabbed just the top leaf. I didn't pick the whole thing. I just grabbed the top leaf of my cabbage and took this, and I was, we were staying in our camper, so I didn't have like a lot of tools there. So I'm just taking this and getting my cutting board and just like chopping this thing up as fine as I can, just pulverizing it as much as I can. Then I grabbed my potato, and I didn't even have a peeler, so I'm just like using a knife and just going like this as much as I can to try to get as much of a juicy mess as I can, okay? Once I got these two ingredients, I actually did have some charcoal powder that was in our camper. I added that. You're gonna learn about the charcoal in a minute, but I use that more for preventing infection, okay? But this is what was going to help bring down the inflammation and the pain. So as soon as I had all this pulverized as much as I could until it was nice and soft and juicy, I just took it on a paper towel, whatever I had. I don't even know if I had any gauze up there, and ran it out to Steve, who's like sitting out there crying in pain. And we wrapped that, was it your thumb or?
That finger.
Okay.
It looked like a matchstick. It was this huge like light bulb on the end of it. It was really, really big.
It was really big and very painful. Okay, so we completely wrapped it, and taped it up and just let them hold there. How long did it take until the pain went away?
I wanna say 10 minutes.
Oh, no.
I wanna say it immediately like went away. It was so, it was, even though I know this stuff, it was shocking to me how fast it worked.
Yeah, so immediately, we went out for dinner that night, and the whole evening he's like, oh, like totally acting like he hadn't even smashed up his
I
finger
wasn't
that day.
singing like that.
But you were just happy-go-lucky and not like you were in pain. It
No
wasn't
pain
like,
medicine either, it was just
No,
the
no
poultice.
Tylenol, nothing, yeah, just the cabbage and the potato. And we left it on there, I think it was all night.
Mhm.
And then the next morning, I took it off to see how it looked, and the swelling there was no swelling. It wasn't red and inflamed. I mean, you could tell that the tissues had been broken, but the cabbage and the potato is helping to heal those tissues, okay? So it was healing up really well. There was no infection. I put a new poultice on it. We did that for another day or two, and then it was great. Eventually the nail fell off, and it regrew, but it was amazing.
It was.
Cabbage and potatoes.
Would that work for a backache? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Will it work for a backache?
Yes, I believe so. Let me go
I'm
look
sorry,
here at my
I think
notes real
someone
quick.
else
You have a question over here too.
I do. So when you make the poultice, let's say, like my eyes have been real tired and irritated lately.
Yeah.
Would you put it directly onto the eye, or do you put
Okay, so
something
in that
between?
case, you could use something a little bit more permeable. Even if you used like a paper towel or something, it's still going to bleed
Yeah.
through.
Okay.
But you might want to try something like
Cheesecloth?
cheesecloth,
Yeah.
yeah, which is going to keep the plant matter out of your eye, but allow more of the juices stuff to
Okay, so
come
it's
through.
okay for the juices to go in.
Mhm.
Even
Well,
like if you put
if
charcoal
you
in
covered
it,
something
would you?
on your eye is going to automatically close.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to have your eye open.
Oh, yeah, but I'm thinking more it seeping in between the slits, just
Mhm.
a lot of cabbage juice. I mean,
Yes.
That's something I would do.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
It's
Thank
going to
you.
bring a lot of healing and comfort
Yeah, thank you.
that is very helpful. Let me make sure I didn't miss any point here. So one of the ones that we mentioned on your handout was about nursing mothers who can get very swollen and painful. And using just a bruised cabbage leaf on that, it can bring so much healing and comfort and take away all that swollen pain.
Dave,
Yes.
just a quick mention of the cabbage poultice for sprained ankle too.
Okay, so I'm getting to that
Oh,
one
I'm sorry.
next. Because it goes well with the next one I'm going to mention, and that is now an herb. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this herb called Comfrey, and I just picked this from the herb garden out in front of the church. So I would highly encourage you to get it. I'm going to find here a picture, a larger picture. Okay, so here is a photo of Comfrey in the middle of summer, and it puts out these pretty little purple flowers. This is a perennial, so if you plant this in your yard, it will just come back every year, okay? And even in the winter time when it dies back, you can still dig up part of the roots and use it the same way. So year round, you can have this amazing herb in your garden, but it's kind of fuzzy, and I'll leave these up here for you guys, or maybe one of them, because I'm going to use some of them, to feel. But it's kind of fuzzy, but amazing. So comfrey is sometimes referred to as knit bone because they believe that it would help to heal bones and broken bones. It has been used for centuries to treat a variety of pain and inflammation related issues in muscles and joints. Things like arthritis, fibromyalgia, lower back pain, I think you mentioned back pain, to speed up the healing of bruises. So this is another one that can be really good for Ron's bruise. And you can sometimes combine some of these together because they accomplish some of the same things. But healing of bruises, sprains, sport injuries, and other blunt injuries. So this one has an anti-inflammatory properties, de-swelling, and pain relieving properties as well. And you can use the leaves fresh or dried, and you can also use the roots. You can also make salves from Comfrey, and you can buy salves too. But the salve maybe is a little bit easier to apply when you don't have access to the actual herb. One of the things I did read, and I need to look into this a little bit more, but I read that you're not supposed to ingest Comfrey internally. Did you ever hear that? You can?
You can.
Okay,
It's not
it said that there was some properties in it that could toxify your liver if taken in larger quantities. So, I don't know, I've never taken Comfrey as an internal herb, only externally.
Yeah.
You can
No,
make
you
it
can,
in the tea.
I would take a leaf and put it in my smoothie every day.
Okay,
That size,
so
it's not, it's
Look-
not.
look into that,
Mhm.
but it is an amazing herb for healing. So let me tell you how I use this. I had a friend, and this actually happened to a friend and to my husband, who badly sprained an ankle, okay? And one was tripping on ice, the other I think was a sports related thing, but a bad sprain. And you know with sprains, it can take a long time to heal. My husband's ankle is very weak due to some injuries in his youth, and because of that, when he gets a sprain, it takes, in the past, a long time to heal. Well, when you want to run and get back to life, you don't want to be sitting there out the whole summer with an injury. So use Comfrey to bring healing. Now, what I did is I actually combined it with Cabbage, because Cabbage is also anti-inflammatory as well as healing. So we're just going to take some of this Cabbage here. And there's maybe a couple ways you could do this. You could just chop it up, but sometimes just using something like a food processor is fast and easy if you have access to that. But adapt with what you have. Now, I'm making a very small amount here. If I was doing something like an entire ankle, I might use a larger food processor. And then I'm going to take some of these Comfrey leaves and just put them in here so that we can pulverize them.
Comfrey it has a compound in it that speeds, what is it, it's a, what do you call it? I forget what you call it. It literally will heal a bone break in a third the time if you keep a poultice on it, that Comfrey poultice on it. It has a cell growth accelerator or something.
Yeah, I think
Get the
I
name
put
of it.
that that's in the notes here. It helps to create more cells to heal the area. And it mentions here a couple cautions because of its quick healing properties. You want to, let's say you had a broken bone, you want to have it set before you start putting Comfrey on it. Or if you have a wound, you want to make sure the wound is clean, because this stuff will start to heal it up so fast. Okay, so we just pulverized our Comfrey as well as our Cabbage, and the juices are going to really start releasing out of this. But now it's just very simple. You're just taking this, putting it on your poultice, whatever you're using. In this case, I was doing an ankle, so I was going to make a much larger poultice than this. And then I just took this and applied it directly to the area where the sprain had happened. And then wrapped it. Wrap it, again, with your plastic wrap or cloth. And he just wore that for like a whole day. We would change it
Overnight,
out.
yeah.
We changed it out like maybe twice a day, morning and evening. With my friend, I just made a whole bunch for her, had her put it in her fridge, and then she just kept making more poultices. And it was amazing how fast this sprain healed up. Of course, you know, we iced it too, you know, those normal things that you know to do with sprains. But this helps to bring healing to the tissues and helps to repair the ligaments and the joints that have been injured.
How would it work on an old wound? Would you be able to use it like on an old?
I would definitely try it because the fact that there's still problems with that area
So like
means that something hasn't healed properly.
something
And
that you did like 30 years ago or.
can't hurt to try it. It definitely can't hurt to try it.
Stacy, I have a question.
Yeah.
How would it be a benefit after somebody has had surgery, and has had a cast on for a couple of weeks, and the cast comes off? Would it still be beneficial to?
Yes, I would think so, yeah. Because again, it's helping to bring healing to that area and restoring the tissues, the ligaments, all of that.
So it would be, yeah, I'm just thinking they had, the ligaments and the muscles in the forearm were all detached.
Absolutely, yeah. So Comfrey, get it, put it in your garden and use it.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one I'm gonna talk about is onions, okay? So we have, this is another very common vegetable that we all use in cooking, but this can work amazing for healing for the body too. On your handout, it says that you can use it in 2 ways, raw or cooked. So let's talk about first using it cooked. So have you ever gotten a really bad earache? Or had a child that got a very bad earache? And it hurts so terrible, okay? And you know, they'll often give you like an antibiotic, which, I don't know, that can work maybe, but let's try something natural. So what we've done with this is I steamed this onion. I just put it on a steamer basket. Don't boil it because you don't want to boil all the nutrition out of it. But you can either steam it or you could bake it in the oven. It's very soft now. This has been cooling for about 45 minutes, but it's still warm. So what I'm going to do is just cut this in half. And now you can see the open side. Now from here, you can take part of this onion and just squeeze out some of the juice. This juice right here, you can pour right directly into the ear, okay? And so this is gonna get down inside the ear where the infection is, and it's gonna start healing that. Then you can take the rest of this onion, and you can just put it straight on the ear, and then put a piece of plastic or a cloth on top to hold it in place. Now you can just lay there on that side. Now if you're dealing with a child or something, you might have to bandage it with an ace bandage or something to hold it in place. And they can even go to sleep with this. And it will immediately start to work to clear up that infection and take away the pain of that inner ear infection. So a wonderful way to use your cooked onion. Now another, I'm not going to grab it. A little dirty. Another, yeah.
Is that just a white onion?
This was just a white onion. I got a white onion. I'm sure you could probably use any type of onion, but sometimes you know that when you cut some of these onions, especially like a non-Vidalia onion, how your eyes water and all of that. That's again the properties that are in the onion that are those healing properties. Okay. Now another way that you can use a cooked onion is you could just take your onion and just slice it like you would do if you were doing a stir fry. Take your onion and then put it in a skillet with just a little bit of water and just saute it, okay? Once you have your onions sauteed, let's just say this would be good for someone who's got bronchitis or a chest congestion. Take your sauteed onion, put that on something like a thin towel, put all your sauteed onions on there, You might want to put something on top of it, like a paper towel, so it's just gonna hold it all in place. And then put this on their chest. And then follow it up with a warm compress on top, which would be like just a hot, moist towel. And adding the warm compress, you are bringing more blood flow to the area, which is going to help the onion to even work more effectively, okay? Whenever you do a compress in combination with a poultice, you are helping it even more. So it could be a warm compress, in this case for bronchitis. If you're dealing with something like a bruise or you're swelling, you can put ice on top of that, a cold compress in connection with the poultice. And the water, the hot or the cold, helps to bring blood flow to the area, which is bringing white blood cells to the area, which is bringing healing to the area. Yes?
Just one comment for the earaches.
Yeah.
Is that over 10 years ago, I flew to Germany, had a major earache when I landed. So what I usually do is I take raw onion, press it through a garlic press, press it right onto a cotton ball, put the cotton ball in my ear, put a headband over
Yeah.
it, sleep all night. It's great.
Yeah, so that you use the raw onion the same way, yeah.
It works for kids with the headband.
Yes,
It
yeah.
stays on there.
Yeah, with a beanie or just a headband will hold that in place. Good idea, thank you for sharing that. Now, speaking about the raw onion, so she talked about using the raw onion juice in her ear, but that will work just as well. One of the things about onions, if you get like a cold, upper respiratory type of infection, you're stuffy, having a hard time breathing, all of that going on, just take your raw onions, cut it very thin. You can do this for children too. Put it on a plate and put it right next to their bed when they're sleeping. The whole room will start to smell like onion. But what that onion is doing is it's helping to open up the respiratory tract so that you can breathe and help with that congestion. You sleep so much better. Now, connecting with colds is often cough. And sometimes you get one of those coughs, you just coughing all night, dry cough, you just can't stop the cough. So take your raw onion, cut it thinly, and then put it on the bottom of your foot, just your plain foot. Wrap it with your saran wrap and put a sock on and go to bed with the onion on your foot. And what happens, the bottom of your feet the pores in the bottom of your feet absorb so much. So it absorbs the onion through your feet and it will instantly stop cough. My mom had COVID over the holidays and had a cough we could not seem to get rid of. I said, we're putting onion on your feet. And her cough got significantly better. So, onion for cough. This is a great remedy for that. Okay. The last thing I'm going to show with the onion before we, I guess I still need this, is making an onion cough syrup. Okay, so you just get a jar and you're going to take your onions, chop them up, mince them up. This is raw onion. Put a layer of onions, maybe about ½ inch thick, in your jar. And then you're going to add some raw honey. Okay? Add a teaspoon of raw honey. This recipe is in your handout. Okay? Teaspoon of your raw honey, and then more onions. Another layer of onions, and then another layer of your honey. And you're just going to continue to do that until your jar is full. Now at first, it's just going to look like you just have onions with layers of honey. But what's going to happen is that as this sits, and we'll just leave this out for the rest of the class, but the juices are going to start to release from this onion into this honey. And if you leave this overnight, by the next morning, you're going to have a lot of liquid in this jar. So then you just strain out the liquid and put that in a jar, keep it in your fridge, and you've got cough syrup indefinitely. Whenever you have a cough, take a teaspoon of that onion lemon cough syrup. Do you like onions and potatoes and cabbage more now? Simple things that are in your pantry all the time, but can really bring healing.
Cough medicine.
So Kim, come on up and I'll just
Stace, how long would the cough medicine last?
Indefinitely. Yes.
Do you keep
It's
it in
not
the
gonna go
refrigerator
bad.
or not?
Keep it in the fridge.
Okay.
Yeah, the honey will help preserve it.
Honey lasts forever.
Yeah.
I have a
Raw
cough
honey
medicine
will
that
last
I don't know. Mine is just apple cider vinegar and honey, and I use it on my kids all the time.
Yeah.
It just-
Yeah, and healing has a lot of anti,
I found that one.
bacterial
When my kids were
honey.
Yes,
young.
yes, it does. In fact, I did the onions on the bottom of my husband's feet as well. He had a cough, and that was lingering like
Uh-huh.
that. And I said, how would you like to have some onion on the bottom of your feet? And he was like, yeah, I've made him drink some pretty crazy stuff. It was like, he's my guinea pig, and he's a really good sport. And so we did that, and I don't like the plastic on my skin. So what we did is we put the onion on his feet, we took plastic, but then we put the sock right on top of that, and it stayed in place enough, and it stayed moist through the night, and he didn't cough all night.
Yeah, and you can
It just took
use
it all away.
a gauze roll too to hold it in
Mhm.
place too.
Yeah.
There's other ways to
Yeah.
secure it.
And what is that? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Whatever you got.
Right, like she was talking about the headband, you know, you could put a beanie on, it's just all kinds of different ways that you can keep that. And you're right, that's an easier way to keep that in your ear is with the moist, you know. So,
Will it work on like the dust cough too? That
Tickle
dust-
cough,
Yeah, that, when you have that, 'cause like
it's
I-
more for a respiratory.
yeah, so along that line of the honey, you can also take like a half a cup of, or a cup of honey, or a pint of honey. I do this at home all the time. I take a pint of raw honey and I put in several drops of eucalyptus oil. Mix that up really well, and so if you're feeling like you need that in your throat, right? Just take a teaspoon or so of that, and it just, what it does is it just really it coats your throat with the eucalyptus oil. It kind of keeps it stay there for a little while, so yeah, so that's another one. So you enjoying this so far? Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what God has given us to work with. The Comfrey, I just want to say with the Comfrey, this is one of my favorites. It is kind of picky. So when you do use it, I'm going to show you a way to do a poultice without the mess of the raw on your skin, because it can get really messy, you know, pieces falling out. And the first time I did it, my husband's got cabbage and potatoes, everything. I mean, it's all over the place. So we had to figure some things out. So we're not professionals. We are on this learning curve, just like you are. We're just a little bit different spot. We just have an interest in it, and it's just wide open. Just do your research. You know, think about it, and try it, test it, you know, it's a lot of fun. So we're gonna talk about garlic, and who doesn't love garlic? And it's really, I don't know what we wrote in here for that, for garlic. Yeah, so it can certainly be called a wonder herb, for sure. It contains phytochemicals. Now, those aren't synthetic chemicals, those are plant chemicals, and those are the chemicals that God designed our bodies to recognize and to utilize. And it has antioxidants, it's antibiotic. In fact, there have been studies and research that shows that garlic cloves, raw garlic, is 6 times more powerful than tetracycline. If you've ever heard the antibiotic tetracycline. If you take about 4 cloves a day, 4 or 5, something in there. And it's excellent for head and chest colds, warts. Anybody need to get rid of a wart? You make sure that you don't touch the oil. Really, what you want to do is put like an olive oil or a carrier oil, something like that, around the outside, but then you slice the garlic and you put it right on the wart. And you just bandage it and you leave it there and it will take care of the wart. Anyway, so it's just basically overall health and wellness. I just want to read something to you. I brought a few of my books here. And by the way, just to, for time's sake, I just wrote up here some of the references that I like, some things that I found very helpful. But this was written on garlic. And this is a book called Garlic, Nature's Perfect Prescription that I have in my little library of things like this. Medline, the nation's largest medical research computer database, includes hundreds of citations reporting the effectiveness of garlic in killing bacteria, yeasts, fungi, and viruses, lowering cholesterol levels, lowering high blood pressure, preventing blood clots, reducing the risk of stroke and heart attacks, increasing immunity and disease resistance, preventing cancer and its spread. So this little herb is really powerful. In fact, you can use it internally and externally. We talked a little bit about the warts and that. But internally, can you tell when you are starting to get run down, like you're just beginning to get sick, like something's trying to nip at you? That's the time to do it. And so we have on the back of your sheet a recipe for a flu balm. That's a wonderful flu balm to have on hand or to make if you're getting the flu or you have the flu or any of those, cold, flu, any of that. But I want to tell you something that I do when I feel like something's coming on, I'm getting ready to go to bed. I do not feel like doing this. I want to go to bed. So what I do is I take a piece of garlic. I can tomatoes, and so this is just some tomato sauce, juice, kind of stuff. And I will mince or press probably like 4 of these to put it in a pint. And I'll just put it in here, I'll shake it up, and I'll take about a cup of it, and I'll go to bed. And I'll wake up feeling great. It just seems to just take. But what you want to do, raw garlic in your stomach on an empty stomach, it doesn't feel good. So you do want to have a little soup with it, maybe take it with a little bit of food or juice. My favorite is just tomato juice. So I will make this up. I'll take a quart and I'll put maybe 8 of these in it and just leave it in the refrigerator. Get up in the morning, take another cup of it, and just kind of do that through the day. And that way you're getting the garlic in you, and you might start smelling a little bit, but I know to me it's like better than being sick. And so, and it's just something that's so easy. I'm just gonna peel a couple of those here. So that's my go-to. What you want to do though with garlic, if you're using raw garlic, you want to crush it and leave it sit for 5 or 10 minutes. There's compound in it called, I think it's allicin, and that is the active compound that really goes to work for you. And when you cook it, it really decreases the effectiveness when you do cook it. It's still good. Garlic still has many other healing properties when you use it in other things cooked. But when you need it to go to work for you with a cold or flu or something like that, you really do want it raw. And so you do want to leave it sit because it takes that time for the oxygen to hit it. Just breaking it apart. It just really likes to sit. So the flu balm. You can take it as a daily prophylactic. So, take one of these a day. My grandmother did that, and She smelled funny all the time, but and I love her dearly. And she lived to be almost 98, never went to the doctor, never took drugs, never any of that. And she just was active. She never used, towards the end, she was using a cane, and a walker to get here and there. But she went, my mom took her to the doctor because, well, Ma, you gotta go to the doctor, and just, my grandma just didn't want to go, but she took her, and the doctor could find nothing wrong with her. And she wanted, the poor thing, she was 95 years old at this time. She wanted a handicap thing. My mom, I think, actually wanted it so she could park closer with my grandma, because she would drive around all the time. And the doctor couldn't find, she said, I can't give you one. I can't find anything wrong with you. So he finally wrote something up for arthritis or something. But it was almost like he had to make something up, because she just didn't have anything wrong with her. So it's just garlic all the time. And she grew it herself. And I'm sure, there are other factors involved, but I just love telling that story. She even put it in her bread. She put it in everything except cake and pie. So I just want to show you, it's a wonderful thing for kids. Like, you're not going to give a child, an infant or a toddler, you're not going to give them the flu bomb. That's just too much for a little person. But what you can do is you can wrap garlic on the bottom of their feet. But you don't want to put it on the skin. So you slice it, you just slice it really thin, little thin pieces, and then you take a strip. Now I use, for my poultices, I use old white t-shirts that my husband has wore out. I just cut whatever size I need for these. I can throw these out. I can wash them if I want to, but I can throw them out. I use old cotton. I like the natural fibers the best. But I use old cotton sheets, or pillowcases. So you just do that. And so what you want to do for a little one's foot, you just put the pieces of garlic in here. And I don't know, I might have to use this someday. If I ever get to be a grandma. So you just put those in here, you cover it over with a flap, right, so that you have this between, and then you just wrap it around the foot, the bottom of the feet. You can put their little booty on, put the sock on, and then their shoes on. They can play all day like this, and it just kind of keeps squishing it into the bottom of their foot and getting into their system. So that also breaks up congestion and things. So that is the humble garlic. I mean, who'd have knew, right? All right, any questions on garlic?
I was wondering, I don't know if you ever make your own hummus, but the recipe that I use, it says to soak your garlic in lemon juice first before you mix it in. You've not done it that way?
I've never done it that way.
All right.
Interesting.
Well, I wondered, that wouldn't take anything away.
No, except that I would, because hummus is raw,
Right.
essentially, it's raw
Yeah,
garlic.
yes.
I would still crush it
Yes.
and let it sit before I used it. And it wouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Lemon juice goes in the,
Yes, it does.
yeah, so you're not.
You don't even have to, you can skip that step if you really want to.
So if you wanna put it on like a wart on your foot, you just put it directly on it.
You cut a slice and you put it directly on it, but you want to be careful to protect the skin, like use some coconut oil or olive oil all the way around it so that it's only touching the wart. As long as there's like a carrier oil by it, you'll be fine. You won't burn the skin, because it will burn the skin. It can blister the skin. And so, okay, well, let's take a look at ginger. Ginger, Jody, this is for you, or the potato. Depends on what it is. Let's take a look at ginger. Find ginger on here. How many of you remember ginger ale and graham crackers years ago when you got sick? I remember that, and I don't know honestly if it actually helped. I think I just loved all the sugar.
It was
The
soda
graham-
crackers for me, ginger ale and soda
Was
crackers.
it soda crackers? Yeah.
Yeah.
I got graham crackers, so I got a double portion of sugar. And I don't know if it helped or not. I really don't know. But we could have done without the all the sugar. So with ginger, it's an anti-nausea herb, motion sickness, anti-inflammatory, indigestion. It's a warming herb. So if you use it to make a tea, you can grate it really fine, or just grate it, and then boil water. After it's boiled, you throw the ginger in it, put the lid on, leave it sit for about 10 minutes or so, and then just strain it out and you have your tea. I usually, when I make it, I just leave it sit in the pot and strain out what I need. I can, you can mix honey with it, maybe some lemon if you want to, maybe a little lemon rind, whatever helps you with the flavor. I like the flavor just with honey. That's good to me. So it's very warming, and it's also very anti-inflammatory. So as far as, it's also an ingredient in the flu balm, by the way, if you notice the flu balm. And, okay, yes, it's an ingredient in the flu balm.
Mhm.
So externally, let's take a look at making a poultice. So ginger is incredible for drawing out. Remember, a poultice draws. Okay, it may feed. It feeds stuff. It feeds some of the nutrients and things in, but it also draws. And so ginger, because it's warm, it's a warming herb. It draws inflammation. It draws heat out of joints. So potato, what you have there, well, you have cabbage, but potato and cabbage will draw heat and inflammation out of tissue, so muscle and just all your tissue. Ginger draws it out of the joint. So does anybody here have like hand joint pain or anything? You can be a guinea pig if you want. You want to be a guinea pig? Okay. So what I do, I was making a lot of these for a while. I have personal experience with this one because I had hurt my hip, and I had gone to the chiropractor, and it wasn't the chiropractor's fault. It was just that things were so bad for so long that it just really, my hip just was killing me. So I made ginger poultices and just put them right here or right here, and I just wore them, and it's amazing what ginger does. It draws the inflammation out, and just like the verse says, it's for the service of man. So if there's no inflammation there, it won't get hot. But if there's inflammation there, it will eventually get hot. So if you're going to put this on and think you're going to sleep with it on, it's a good idea to sleep with it on if you can. I would do it at least a half hour before you go to bed, because it can get really, really hot. If there's a lot of inflammation in that joint, it will get really hot. And I experienced that. I mean, it got really hot. And it's not going to hurt you. I wouldn't leave it on indefinitely. I'd sleep with it on and then take it off and let yourself rest a little bit. One thing that it does, though, it moves the heat more to the skin. And so if you go to take a shower, you take the poultice off and take a shower, it burns. It's just the sensation of burning. It's really, really bizarre. But like I said, if it does not, if there's no inflammation there, it's not going to burn. So this is what I did.
So Kim, if there's no heat, would then you try maybe the potato and cabbage?
Exactly, yeah. So it's a trial or error, right? If you're not sure if it's a joint or tissue, I would try one first. If it helps, great. If it doesn't, try the other one, because it may be deeper, it may be in the joint.
And
So-
with the potato and cabbage, they're more cooling. So
Yes.
when you've injured and it's already very painful and sore and inflamed, it's bringing cooling, where this is actually warming.
And I wonder if you alternate cabbage and potato, if it would take that heat out of the skin where it pulled it out of the joint, and I just, It just makes me wonder, right? So experiment with it. It can't hurt you at all.
Excuse me, can I ask you too, so when you were doing this to yourself and you were having the heat experience,
Mhm.
but you say that if it's not there, you won't get hot. So
Right.
did you do this until you
I-
didn't get hot anymore?
I had, yeah, pretty much. But it was healing, okay? So I knew it was like, nah, I don't need to do this anymore.
Oh, okay.
You just kind of know.
Okay,
Because the whole system, it's good, it's being rectified. The whole thing was being rectified, right? Through the chiropractic
Okay.
care and stretching and all the things that I was doing. So, but I did put it in a spot that didn't get hot. Like, oh, I got it in the wrong spot. So you just know. Okay, so what I do to make a poultice, I stick a piece of plastic. What you want is this plastic to be probably a ½ inch at least beyond the little package. I'll show you that. And then I take my cloth, I put that over top, then I grate the ginger right on top of it. You don't need to, just if you want to wash it, that's fine. But you really don't ever really need to peel the ginger. You know, making tea or anything like that. I used to peel it and I'm thinking, this is a real pain, but you really don't need to. So you just grate it. All the ginger poultices I was making, I grated off a lot of my thumb and finger at the time. Oh man, yeah. So anyway, you get this on here. Just set that aside. Get that off of here. Okay. So now you just kind of move it around in here and it's nice and it's wet. So what you want to do is you want to keep poultices moist. So now it's in the center. You can kind of see it's in the center of my little, you know. So you make your piece of cloth as big as you need it. And then you want to fold it up, fold everything over so that it holds really nice. You see I made a little package here. Just kind of a little folded package. You just fold it over and over. So now you don't have the mess, but you do have the liquid that is coming through here. So that's what you want. So I flipped it over.
One layer.
Yes, I flipped it over so that the wet is on the side that you put it on. So would you like to put this on your hand?
Sure.
Okay. Come on around this way and I will do that. And I will use, because you can use an ACE bandage, but I'm going to send you home with this. I brought this. And you smell the garlic. Yeah. Yeah, this is the self-adhering bandage that you can buy as well, which is really quite handy. So where's your joint pain?
Really like all in here.
It's all in there? Okay, so we'll just stick it on here and we'll just do the whole point of the plastic really is you don't really want it to leak and you don't want it to dry out. So maybe about a ½ inch here like that. Yeah, I just don't like plastic on my skin. And you just wrap it up.
and she just wears it until she can't stand the pain anymore from the heat?
Well, what she's gonna tell us is if it's getting hot.
Yeah.
That's what she's gonna be able to tell us, because we're gonna be at this for a little bit longer here tonight. And so she'll be able to do that. Is that too tight?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I just did all my gardening today, so my hand really hurts.
Aw.
So the arthritis that you have in your hands?
Yeah. My knuckles too.
All right, well, we'll see what happens here.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah. Hey, I was hoping for a guinea pig tonight. Yeah. Okay, so this is good for gout, and actually potato is good for gout as well. To put that on and like I said, if you don't want the mess, wrap it up in a little parcel. It can get really messy, and especially like something like this, like the Comfrey. It's a very picky. It's got little picky hairs on it, and so that can get really uncomfortable on the skin.
What'd you say about gout? That would work, whole gout out?
The ginger and
Ginger and potato. Yep, both. work for gout. Just shrink it right up and heal it right up. So, okay, so that's ginger, so maybe that would help Tim. It depends if it's tissue or if it's joint.
I am curious as to what you're gonna do with that leftover comfrey. If nobody's having dibs on it, can I take it home?
We got some out there too. We'll let you have some. All right, so let's go to charcoal. Charcoal next. Charcoal is one of my favorites. In fact, there's some things that I would encourage you to look up. For poultices, do a YouTube search on videos for Barbara O'Neill and poultices, and a whole bunch of videos will come up. She's extremely knowledgeable and helpful on these very simple things. And then this guy here, you can look up a video on him. Charcoalremedies.com, that's this book right here. I love this book. Dr. Agatha Thrash, someone who used it extensively. I think she's passed away not that long ago. She said that if she was stranded on a desert island, what's the one herb, one remedy that she would like to have? And she said charcoal, because it is so versatile and so powerful. And so that's the one that we're going to look at right now. So it's used for upset stomach, nausea, poisoning. Did you know that EMS, the trucks, they carry it? It's used in hospitals for poisoning. In fact, I think a lot of poison centers around the country suggest that you have it in your home for poisoning. It is so powerful. And what makes it powerful is it doesn't absorb, it adsorbs, adsorbs. And so what that means is there's something in it with the charge, it's like a negative charge, and it draws things and it holds on to it. It neutralizes toxins. It doesn't, and so if you take it internally, it neutralizes the toxin, holds on to it, and then just flushes it out of your system. And it is used in so many different things. I've just got to read you this. I just have to read you this. Let me see, page 131. Okay, and this really piqued my interest. I was kind of researching a little bit more on this over the last few days. And, considering where we are today, who can, unless you've been living in a cave in a hole, there's obvious things going on in the world, right? It says, here in the 21st century, humanity is still threatened with the barbarianism of war. There are renewed threats of chemical and biological warfare. Interesting. While new, more aggressive organisms and chemicals have been engineered, that's interesting, their natures still make them inherently susceptible to adsorption by charcoal. While the threat of anthrax may be new to the reader, it was not new to Hippocrates or Pliny 2,000 years ago. For all the fear that surrounds anthrax, Hippocrates and Pliny both recorded the ability of charcoal to effectively render harmless this extremely infectious bacteria.
Wow.
You think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want charcoal. Charcoal is good for me. Apart from chemical warfare or germ warfare, that's interesting, it is worth mentioning again that it is a common practice in laboratories that perform studies into the transmissibility of different viruses not to use charcoal impregnated swabs. More often than not, the charcoal inactivates the infectious nature of viruses. Charcoal's antiviral potential demonstrated in research labs should translate into one more prevention strategy for personal health. Yeah?
What, you couldn't have done this class 2 years ago?
That's a good point. I don't think Stacy and I were at the point we are today to even begin to think about doing this a couple of years ago. But, charcoal's powerful. It helps with bloating, gas, indigestion, diarrhea, chest congestion, inflammation, infection. It's huge with infection. It just draws anything that doesn't need, it's not supposed to be you, it will draw out. So, yeah.
Just mention, for those of you who may not know what charcoal is, this is not the stuff you use on your grill to cook burgers in the summertime, okay?
No.
In fact, it's often called activated charcoal.
Yeah, and you know, activated has only been around for 100, maybe a little over 100 years. But the use of charcoal has been around, I would say, almost since the beginning. I mean, it's been traced back to ancient Egypt in its use. And I believe, I mean, it's one of those things that I think God gave this as just an amazing gift to us, because it's cheap, right? This is out of my wood stove. Now, I'm gonna play with it. I know that you can activate it. I haven't done, but it's still powerful even if it's not activated. Activation just makes it a little bit more powerful. It gives it more holes in it, more surface area. But I could literally crush this. Because I used hardwood, we don't burn weird stuff in our wood stove. We only use clean wood. When we get up in the morning after cranking it down to go to bed at night, this is what I'll find. And I pulled some out and I thought, I'm gonna play with this, because what if I can't get it, right? So that's what we can do. We can pull it out of our fire pit.
Can you touch on the process of activation? Do you know how activation is done?
It's done by, I have not done it, but you smother it. Like, you get the fire going and then you have to smother it. There's lots of YouTube videos. YouTube is my friend. When they pull YouTube, this is why I'm gathering books.
Nice.
One day, you know, if YouTube goes away, I will have a book to consult. But yeah, so it's just a matter of smothering it.
Yeah, sure.
And I found another video that if I take this and mix it with lemon juice and then heat it up to dry it out, heat it up really high in the oven. There's a guy on YouTube that, you know, so that's activated charcoal. Okay, well, I'll give it a try, but, you know, like I said, it's only been activated, really, and sold as activated charcoal for, you know, 125 years, something like that. But let me see here. Oh, I missed something here. So internally, we've basically covered that. It is so wonderful internally. If, you know, my husband will come home from a business trip. He travels with this. He travels. Now he's just going to London next week, I think it is, next week. First time out of the country since all of this stuff, because they lifted all these restrictions and everything. He always travels with this, though, no matter where he's gone in the world, in the country.
Food poisoning.
Yep, and he's used it. So you take maybe 2, 5, or 10. I mean, we've taken, you know, 10.
Oh.
You have to drink plenty of water, because it does have a constipating effect. You know, it can have that, so you drink lots of water.
You mean a day, not at one time?
No, one time.
At one time you take 10?
Yeah. See, we're in the mentality, I think a lot of us have grown up in this mentality of pills, like 10 pills, you know? But it's not, it's charcoal. You can take the powder, here's my powder, and just mix it with water. Just put it in some water. Take a tablespoon or juice, whatever. It's very, very, very messy. Now, you guys got a gift tonight of the charcoal. Don't open it. Don't open it. It's very, very light and powdery. And I'm going to show you how to make a poultice the not messy way.
Just have an update.
Yes.
I mean, this is like, I mean, literally feels like my hand would be like next to a fire right
Yes.
now. Like
See,
around
so
the
you
fire.
have inflammation.
Yeah.
So you leave it on as long as you're okay with it.
Yep.
If you're not comfortable with that, you
No,
can take
it's
it off.
amazing.
We can put a potato poultice.
Right.
In place. We can have you over the side.
Yeah, amazing.
So, that's awesome.
And can you
That
take it
didn't
off
take
and put it on
long.
and take it off and put it on? Can she take it off and let it cool down and then put it right back on?
You might be able to do that a few times. You don't want that to dry out.
Oh, okay, it's when it dries out, it's no good anymore.
Yeah, you just have to make a new one. Yeah, so it's hot, huh?
It is.
You've got some inflammation there.
Right.
Well, can
Tom?
you put one of those,
When you say you take those 10 at a time, is that daily or is that if you
No,
have a?
that is if you
you're-
think you've got food
Okay,
poisoning.
that's what I was
If you think
clarifying.
you're getting, food poisoning or getting sick or getting, I'm trying to
No
see if I
idea.
can see you. Then, yeah,
That's not
I
like for
mean,
a daily,
No, no.
yeah, or you ingested something that's poison that you didn't realize, or maybe you drank some bad water, or, whatever. It will knock it out. It will just absorb it and get it out of your system. So, it's a wonderful thing. One way that I use it is now you can't get, it's hard to find the tablets. I love the tablets because, I use it for dental health. Take the tablet at night before I go to bed, chew it up just a little bit, kind of get it all over my mouth, and I just go to sleep. And I have gotten rid of toothaches, gum issues.
Sore throat.
Yep,
Suck on it for sore throat.
it'll whiten your teeth in a period of time. I would not. Has anybody ever seen charcoal toothpaste? I wouldn't do that. It's very abrasive to your teeth and to your enamel. All you need to do is just, sleep with charcoal in your mouth. It's, your spouse might. I mean, I don't. Anyway. But it works. It works, And I don't want to I want to keep these teeth. I've had them 62 years. I want to keep them until the Lord comes or I die, one of the two. Yes?
Do you use the charcoal tablet every night, or can
I
you
do.
use it every night?
Yep. It doesn't hurt you to use charcoal every day internally. It doesn't hurt you. It will help gut issues. One thing that you don't want to do if you are on any medications that the doctors prescribe, if you're on medication, you want to stay about a 2-hour window away from it because it'll render that neutral too. It's just like anything that's not you or shouldn't be in you, it takes away. So, right? So this is where I ordered my loose charcoal powder. This was the Monterey Bay Herb Company. This was £1 worth. Is what you have. You have part that and part this. We had to mix it because they didn't have enough. The Vitamin Company carries this one. This one was a little bit more granulary. That's okay. It still works just fine. This one was a little more powdery. All right. I'm not opening this. Well, yes, I am. I have to open this to make the poultice. Right. I'm going to put this on one of our things so I can show you the non-messy way to make a poultice. Because when you have a bug bite, a snake bite, a spider bite, a venomous spider bite, right? There are some pretty nasty spiders. There are some nasty spiders here, more so down south, but they're nasty here too. And who's going to go and look at it to see is it venomous or not? I mean, you want to be able to put something on right now. I was opening up one of our sheds in the backyard a year ago, and as I'm doing this, a wasp came out and just nailed me right there. I ran to the house, I got a little piece of my charcoal poultice, put it on a Band-Aid, stuck it on there, and it was just within minutes that the pain was gone and it was just taking out all that stuff. So I just kept applying it. I also make some salves too that do the same thing, but it's just amazing what this stuff does.
And infections.
Infections,
And even
huge.
bad and gangrene down in South America, missionaries are trained everywhere on using charcoal for wounds and where they don't have medical care. And it will,
Saves limbs.
Yep.
save gangrene, to
Yep.
get amputations.
Yeah, it just draws that out. And you can use it with hot-cold contrasts. Hot-cold, if you're able to get your limb or whatever it is in the pot, what you're doing is if you have hot water, as hot as you can tolerate, and ice-cold water next to it. You put charcoal in the hot water and you soak whatever that wound is in that hot. Now remember, you're drawing blood to that area. And then you do that for 3 minutes, and then you take it and put it in the ice cold water, and you do that for 30 seconds, and what that does is it stimulates. If you leave it in too long, if you leave ice on too long, or hot bath or whatever too long, it's more sedative. But the 3 minutes on the hot, 30 seconds on the ice cold, and back and forth, it's stimulating, and it just really pushes and pulls the blood. It pulls the blood out to heal, and then it pushes it out, and that's what you're doing. So charcoal is fantastic for that. So I'm going to show you how to make a poultice, how to mix up a poultice. You can take a plastic bag. Now I'm just going to make a small one, but if, you know, I'll take this home and use it. But you can make a larger one if you want to. You can use either flax meal, or psyllium husk, or slippery elm. Some people use flour, some people use cornstarch. I've never used those. I like these much better. But what you're trying to do is water and charcoal they mix, but it's just watery. And what you want it is to be kind of jelly, so that it doesn't ooze and leak all over the place. So here's a little trick that I just learned, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Is you take about a tablespoon. That's what the recipe is on the back for a charcoal poultice, and it's like super. Okay, so I'm gonna stick it in here, and close that up so I don't. See, look, it just gets everywhere, just like that. It jumps on you or something. And then I will put some flax. Maybe I'll just use the psyllium. Let's see how the psyllium works here. Put a little bit more in of the psyllium. All right.
Ground flaxseed, right?
What's that?
That's ground flaxseed.
This is ground flaxseed.
I think ground chia seed would probably work the same way too.
I think so. Yeah, ground chia seed, because it's all real gelatinous.
Yeah, more of a gel.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Getting out of the camera sight. Milled flax, I only use this for poultices really. If I'm going to take flax meal in or flax in, I grind my seeds fresh, because that's when they lose their potency if you grind them too far in advance. All right, so add a little bit of water. I think it was only about, what did I say, six tablespoons.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see how this works. Maybe a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more. And now you don't have all of that powdery mess. I mean, you don't have the spoon that's black, and the bowl that's black, and the countertop that's black, and you just massage it like this, and this, and I'm going to set it to the side and go on to the next one, and then I'll show you, because it becomes very jelly-like, and so I'm just going to let that work there for a minute, and then what else? Yeah, so snake bite, spider bite, boils, sore eyes, oral health, we talked about that. Snake bites and spider bites, like again, you want to have it on hand, okay? And so what this is going to do is going to get really thick. It's already starting to thicken up. You can kind of see that. Yeah. It's already thickening. So what I do, I brought a rolling pin, but it doesn't look like I really need to do that. I'm going to get some air out of it, and get the air out of it. And then I would just stick this in the refrigerator, or the freezer, but the refrigerator is fine. It will keep indefinitely. And then when you need a poultice, you snip off what you need. Okay, just cut that off. Get a paper. I would do a paper towel for that one, because you just throw it right away, right? So you get the plastic, this again, you put the piece on there, you can fold it over like this. You can apply it directly, that's fine, it's just messy. Or you can do this method again, just like we did with her hand with the ginger. And all you do is you cut your piece out and put it back. I would put it in a plastic bag then, after I did that. cut the piece out, you take the top layer of the plastic off, and then you put that on the skin part, or on the part that's gonna go on the skin, and then you already have the plastic layer on the back to keep it moist. And so, just one of those little tricks. Okay. That's charcoal. Dig into charcoal and just see all the different things. It's just amazing. All right, so the next one is cayenne pepper. I love cayenne pepper. And I have to speed it up here a little bit. Sorry, guys. Cayenne pepper. It's a warming herb. It's a heart tonic. It's a digestive aid. Cayenne pepper, it's healing to the gut, and it seems counterintuitive, right? How many think that cayenne pepper is hot? It's a hot pepper, it's gonna hurt my stomach. And if you think that, I mean, that's the natural thought, right? But it's not at all. It's healing. What it does is it's blood stimulating. It moves blood. That's what it does. So it says some people, I've written down here, some people are cautious of it because it's been classified as a stimulant, along with coffee, tea, alcohol, or cigarettes. Those are all nervous system stimulants, okay? But cayenne is a blood stimulant. Totally different ballpark. It stimulates the blood, and we want the blood stimulated because the life is in the blood. Blood heals, right? So it only takes about 1 minute for 1 drop of blood to travel the whole body. Isn't that interesting? So it's a natural, powerful natural blood thinner, and it never would cause you to bleed out. Like some of the drugs they tell you to take that are blood thinners. You can bleed out from those. People get black and blue, it's just all kinds of side effects. But as God would have it, He gives us things for our service. The body knows what to do with it. If somebody is having a heart attack or a stroke, you put cayenne pepper under their tongue, or you have them, and then have them drink a glass of water. And it literally has the ability to stop the stroke, stop the heart attack. No, obviously, but you still call 911 and you have them taken in. But you may just very well save their life. Because how can you wait? I mean, we don't have to wait. We can do this because it's not going to hurt them at all.
So cayenne is one of those thinking herbs.
Mm-hmm.
It knows what your body needs to do.
Yep.
So it can thin the blood.
Yep.
And it can stimulate it, but it also will clot the blood.
Exactly.
So if you have a nosebleed, you could sniff it, I guess that's what you would say.
I don't do that. If I have a nosebleed, I will put some in water and just drink it.
Oh, that'll do the same.
And it really does, within minutes. Within minutes.
Or
Yeah.
if you have a wound, it will, put it on the wound
Yep.
and clot it.
I've cut my finger in the kitchen.
Oh, I've done that.
And put cayenne on it. It might tingle a little bit for a little while, but it stops the bleeding.
Yeah.
So it is a wonderful thing. It actually will, it helps the blood vessels in that if there is a problem in the blood vessels, it conditions the blood vessels. But if there's a rip or a tear or something, it just goes right to work with that, just healing it up. So it's a wonderful thing. So you just drink it with water. And it might tingle a little bit. If you have a sore throat, you do that. You can drink it. And it brings blood to that area. One of the other things that you can do, I'm just going to demonstrate really quick a poultice. Let's see, what was I going to use for that poultice?
Could you use just capsules? Cayenne capsules.
You can use capsules. Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
For a poultice for cayenne pepper. Now, if you want to bring blood to the area, let's say you have maybe an underactive thyroid, okay? You can do a cayenne poultice right there. It'll bring blood to that area. Now, if it's overactive, you can use ice. So that's, just kind of work with it. Peripheral neuropathy, which is something that a lot of people have if they're diabetic and they might be losing, they don't have feeling in their feet. To get blood, they need blood to the area. So you can do a Cayenne Poultice on them and let them, pardon me?
It'll get your feet really hot.
Get the feet really hot, but it's not burning, it's not gonna burn them. So you can put a poultice on, put a sock on them, they go to bed, get up in the morning, they might have some tingling, which means that they're getting feeling back.
Yeah.
They're not gonna lose their limbs, so you can use it that way. Yeah. So to make a poultice with cayenne pepper, you just take a little bit of olive oil. You just want it, you don't want it to, you just spread it around just a little bit. And then you put the cayenne pepper on it, so it holds it in place. And that's really it. And then you make the poultice the same way. I didn't do a very big one here, but it depends on the size. I'm just trying to speed things up here a little bit. But you get the point, right, with the poultice and how to wrap it and make a poultice. And I think there's, let's see, is there one more? Yes, there's one more. Okay. Castor oil. All right. Anybody ever have to, I'm looking at our ages here, some of us. Anybody ever have to take castor oil when they were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, my mom did. I know my mom used to have to take it, you know. It will cause serious diarrhea. So it's a harsh laxative is really what it is. But castor oil, no other oil can penetrate the body as deeply as castor oil can. And this is castor oil. And, okay, I'm wondering, what is she doing? This is castor oil, and it breaks up congestion and disperses wastes and toxins. Castor oil accomplishes these tasks when applied via the skin. So it's not going to hurt you. It will break up anything that's not you. It'll break up bone spurs, it'll break up scar tissue, it'll break up tumors, it will break up, let me see, lumps, bumps, congestion, scar tissue, liver issues, gallstones, cataracts, adhesions, tumors, bone, let's see, I have bone spurs on here, hemorrhoids, any unnatural formation in the body, anything. It will not break up something that's you. It's not going to break up your bone, you know, the good stuff. But if you have bone spurs, it will break that up. And here's a little trick that I learned. Men, you're probably going to want your wife to go buy these, but these are just panty liners. All right? Well, you know what? They're perfect. They're thin. They have a plastic backing. They have the sticky, right? So you just put it where you're gonna. I used this on my husband. He was having some gallbladder issues, and I said, let's start off. Let's dissolve those things, or whatever the issue is, if it needs dissolving. And and so I got this out, and I thought for sure he'd give a little protest, but he didn't. He didn't protest at all. He just let me do it. And so you just put just a little bit on. Castor oil does not draw. It only gives, okay? So you just put that on pad, and you might want to leave it sit for a little bit so it spreads out, and then your body will warm it and spread it out a little bit more. And you can reuse this and add a little more castor oil to it if it dries out or it gets like you need a little more castor oil. You can add that until it gets kind of ratty and you think, yeah, I think I'm gonna start over. Like with these, you could probably just throw it out and start over. But this is all you need to do. I mean, women who have had breast lumps, wear this right in their bra and it will break up the breast lumps and that kind of thing. So it's a
Mastitis?
Mastitis, that would be the
Stick to the
cabbage. And the cabbage is the right shape. I mean, right? You take the leaf off and you just,
Brush it.
I mean, it's just the obvious, right? It is. So you just, get the juices going.
So like cysts and stuff, that would break up?
Yes.
Okay.
And it depends on how long you've had it. Now, if you've had like I have scar tissue on my knee, and I'm like, okay, am I in for the long haul? Because it's gonna take me a while to break up all the scar tissue from the surgeries that I've had on my knee. But it will do it. It's just a matter of time. Mary Lou?
So you wanna make sure that, that castor oil does not get on any clothing or your sheets. Because it will
Yeah.
stain and you will never get them off.
Yeah, so if you do like the charcoal thing in your mouth, you know, for your oral health, I use an old pillowcase on my pillow. I mean, it's just, you just do. It washes out, but I'm also in the process of seeing how it works for cataracts. Now, last time I went to the eye doctor, he said, well, it looks like you're kind of developing. I'm like, no. Okay, so I'm gonna get to work and I'm going to, and what I've been doing is I'll put a drop on each of my eyes before I go to bed. And you just smear it around. It goes through the eyelids and all that. And what I'm going to try next to draw it out is the charcoal. So I'm gonna be, my husband's gonna, I'm gonna have a black mouth, I'm gonna have charcoal in my eyes. I think I'll do it when he's out of town. Anyway, I've just gotta keep it fun, right? Just gotta keep it fun at home. So that's castor oil. Does anybody have any questions before we close?
That's what
Yes.
I was gonna ask.
Can you put the castor oil just directly on someone's skin?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. But you really want to put it on something that has on a cloth or and plastic around. You don't want it to.
It's sticky.
It's
and
very.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of clothing.
And one more question so let's say someone has a very large ovarian cyst.
Mm-hmm.
How long would you have to do that in order to start seeing something?
I don't know how long you'd have to do it. You just keep doing it because it
This
is
my daughter.
working.
I'm trying to
Right.
She wants it to
And-
get fixed.
But
right
what
away.
you will do
Yeah.
is, depending on where it's at, you will make a large one. You will make a large one to cover that hole from hip to hip, right?
Yeah.
In that area, and just put it on with an ace bandage, and she just wear it all day, wear it all night, and do that. It will help.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how long it'll take.
But it's
It doesn't
not-
take long. I mean, stuff that's not been there a long time,
Mhm.
it will take a shorter time. So if it's something that's been there a long time, like old scar tissue, it could take a while. Yeah.
Have you heard of a Baker's cyst?
I'm sorry?
A Baker's cyst?
Any
It-
lump, bump,
it's in the,
anything
it's in the
that's,
knee,
Mhm.
behind the knee.
anything that is not you,
Yeah.
it'll break it up.
I just had to get a
So-
cortisone shot.
I just want to say, just in closing, so don't act out of fear, right? But out of confidence that the tools that God has given us are for our benefit, and they do work. Some things don't take as long, like the Comfrey, but some things take a little bit longer. It just helps us to learn patience and take control of your own health. Have some of these on hand. Have some charcoal poultices on hand because you could. And Cayenne Pepper. I just keep it in my cupboard, right? But I travel with it too because you never know when you're going to need it. And try at least one of these. If not all of them. They've all have centuries of proven use, and they're not researched as we would think they might be researched. There's no money, and you can't patent something that's natural. So, yeah. So really, I believe the words years ago when I was starting on this journey, I was reading an Amish book, an Amish healing book, on healing salves and things, and the author said, I believe that our Creator God had the poorest of the poor in mind when he created. And that has stuck with me all these years because I really believe that. It doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter your income level, it doesn't matter who you are. These things work across the board and they're cheap. We can grow them, we can pull them out of our wood stove. So my prayer is that tonight you were encouraged in the ways that our great physician, our Creator, and our Redeemer has made for us. And that He has made provision for every challenge that we may face in this life, both physical, mental, and spiritual.
Amen. Thank you for those closing thoughts. This was fun tonight, wasn't it?
Yes.
Wow, and I even learned a lot, and I was one of the presenters. Yeah, there's so much here. I want to encourage you, if you go home and start using some of these, email us or text us, let us know what happens, because we would love to create some more testimonies that we could use in future classes we might do.
Or if you have questions, any
There are questions, yeah, we're on this journey together, yes.
Okay, so I've been watching, oh my goodness.
Amazing discovery.
Amazing Discoveries,
Yes.
and one section is all mountain remedies,
Yes,
okay? So he was talking about the potato one,
yeah.
and I had a splinter that went in and I couldn't get it out. And so it got kind of infected inside, and I thought, I had an experience before with this thumb, and it cost me $5,000 or the insurance to get it out, and they gave me a scar that I can still feel. So I put the potato poultice
Yeah.
on my, and I wrapped it in 2 nights, and it was gone.
Praise God.
Too nice.
Oh, look at that.
Amazing.
Can I just say real quick, don't be afraid of pus, right?
Right.
It's just dead white blood cells that have gone to work for you. They're working for you. And charcoal can draw that out. That draws out the infection. Don't be afraid of it. It's your helper.
Okay, so if you don't have the charcoal tablets, can you use the powder for
Yes,
tea?
absolutely.
Yes,
Use
you
the
can.
powder.
Don't
That's what
breathe
you
it in though. I would put just a little bit with a little bit of water and to get it in your mouth or maybe on your spoon or something. You don't want to breathe it in because it's really poofy. Yeah, so
Makes
you've got
sense.
some there to help to start with.
Yeah. That's why we always mix it with some kind of carrier there, like the flax, whatever. Makes it so much less messy to work with.
One more question, what do you recommend, like, a poultice or something for like people that have scars?
Yeah, that was the castor oil.
The castor oil.
Mhm. Yeah, and you can just use that and use an ace bandage and wear it all day.
And you
And
can,
I'm talking visible scars, not outside.
Try it.
Yeah.
And report back.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming. This was a lot of fun. I hope you've learned a lot. You're going to go home and apply these things. Share with us what you learned. And plan on joining us in the future. Like we said on our upcoming events flyer, we have a herb walk and lunch scheduled here in July that's going to be doing a lot with more herbs that grow wild here in Michigan in our area. Weeds that might be in your yard that could actually be beneficial. So plan on joining us for that. We have also another event next Thursday and on June 2nd. And on the table there, as you go out, you can find the DVDs, MP3s, or CDs for this seminar we did, Why Does God Allow Suffering? That's dealing more with emotional healing. And then there's some handouts still and books over on the table over there that are free for anybody who wants to get them. That's all first come, first serve. So thank you so much. Let's have a closing prayer and then we'll send you on your way.
Thank you.
Dear God, thank you so much for this time we've had together tonight, for all we've learned, and just for what a great God you are, that you've provided so many natural ways for us to heal our bodies and inexpensive ways. Lord, may we apply these and share them with someone else. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.